Oh yeah, you read that title right. Or you saw that thumbnail and thought it looked cool. Or you accidentally clicked on this video and don't know why you're still listening. It's one of the three. But yeah, MLB Players You Forgot About is back for part 6. You know, I thought I might have retired this series, and I haven't done one in quite a while, so I may be not up to speed, but the MLB offseason has been long, and the lockout is still going, and I'm bored. And what I do when I'm bored is probably what you do when you're bored, which is go on Baseball Reference and remember random MLB players who aren't relevant and don't matter. Because that's just how our brains work. We got 5 players on the list today, and if I manage to stump you guys even once, I'm considering that a victory. Alright, let's waste no more time and dive in. First up is a player that I saw a ton of when I first started watching baseball, and when I was younger, I had no idea why he got so much playing time. This isn't to attack his character, I'm sure that Danny Espinosa is an alright dude, but back when I only cared about batting average and strikeouts, I thought that Danny Espinosa might have been the worst player in baseball. Danny Espinosa was a middle infielder for the Washington Nationals for many years during the early 2010s, and he posted an OPS plus above league average just once in his career. But at the same time, he managed to play in over 100 games in a season 5 times in his career. Well, Danny Espinosa was a switch hitter who could play both middle infield positions quite well, with a 7.2 defensive wins above replacement compiled over the course of his career. So it kind of makes sense in retrospect why he played so much. Espinosa never hit for a high average or got on base at a high rate, but when he made contact, the man was a Dan Uggla incarnate. From 2011 to 2016, Espinosa hit 86 home runs, the 6th highest among all MLB second basemen during that time frame. He also stole 60 bases and posted a 14.6 BSR value in that time frame as well, 7th best among all MLB second basemen. He also struck out like it was job, as I hinted at earlier. He led MLB in 2012 with 189 strikeouts, and his 28.7 strikeout percentage was 7th highest of any hitter in MLB. Then he outdid himself in 2014 with a 33.5 strikeout percentage, 3rd amongst all hitters in MLB. That's a strikeout every 3 at-bats, a strikeout every day. You know who does that? Joey Gallo. So they're basically the same player, right? No, I'm kidding. All my Joey Gallo fans know that strikeouts don't really matter much in the grand scheme of things, and Espinosa had a great glove, ran the bases well, and hit for plenty of pop. The younger fan in me didn't understand his value, and looking back with a modern, more analytical lens, I can see the Nationals knew exactly what they were doing, sticking with Espinosa for a decently long time. He definitely tailed off towards the end of his career, but in his prime, he wasn't a bad ball player. Alright, let's take the clock back 10 more years from that point. How about Brian Bannister? It's a name you may recognize in current MLB times for his efforts in MLB front offices and coaching staffs, but we'll get to that in a little bit. The guy had a decently long playing career as well, with one season standing out from the bunch. Bannister was a fixture in the mid to late 2000s Royals teams that couldn't find a way to escape the bottom of the division. Initially traded from the Mets in 2006, he endured 4 Royals seasons where the team never managed to win more than 75 games. His best efforts came in his first season in Kansas City in 2007. It looked early on as if the Royals had fleeced the Mets for their ace of the future. After a lukewarm first 2 months of the season, Bannister honed his craft in June of 2007. He pitched to a 2.75 ERA and 1.09 WHIP in 6 starts, helping him to win American League Rookie of the Month in June. Then he won it again in August with a 2.90 ERA over 6 starts, one of them being his first career complete game shutout against the Oakland A's. He lowered his ERA as far down as 3.16 on his first start of September, before a bad last month tanked it back up to 3.87. Still, Brian Bannister finished 3rd in American League Rookie of the Year voting, ahead of the likes of Joakim Soria and Daisuke Matsuzaka, while trailing Delman Young and the winner, Dustin Pedroia. The future looked bright for Bannister and the Royals pitching staff, but he'd never again captured the success of his 2007 season. Over the next 3 years, he'd pitched to a 5.58 ERA over 464 innings pitched from 2008 to 2010, and he'd never make another appearance in MLB after that year. Now about that coaching thing I mentioned before. If you're a Red Sox fan, you're probably well aware of Brian Bannister for his efforts with the Red Sox front office. In 2015, he joined them as a member of the scouting department, then he got promoted to Director of Pitching Analysis and Development, then promoted again to Assistant Pitching Coach, then again to VP of Pitching Development, and he worked his way all the way through the rung before finally moving over to the San Francisco Giants as Director of Pitching. So while he had just one good season, Bannister has become something of a phenomenal coach, which many players can't say that they've done. But we can't talk about Brian Bannister without talking about his teammate as well, Gil Mesh? Michie? Michie? Meki? Mishi? Meke? Mesh started his career with the Mariners and pitched in Seattle for 6 seasons, battling injuries through most of it. When he was healthy, he was a workhorse, yet never yielded fantastic results. Over 143 games started with the club, he posted a 4.65 ERA and 1.45 WHIP. Inexplicably, the Royals saw these numbers and decided it was a good idea to give Mesh a 5-year, $55 million deal, matching Mike Sweeney's contract as the largest in club history. Bear in mind, this was one of the first deals new GM Dayton Moore ever made with the Royals. He was a little over 6 months into his new job, and he had placed a high emphasis on improving the pitching of the ball club after they finished dead last in ERA for the American League for 3 years in a row. And this could have easily blown up in his face. But miraculously, things kind of worked out for the Royals in the short term, as Mesh was the ace that they paid for in the first 2 years of the contract. With the Kansas City Royals, Mesh made 3 consecutive opening day starts, and he led MLB in games started both in 2007 and 2008, and he was also an American League All-Star in 2007. In this 2-year stretch, he pitched to a 3.82 ERA, 18.9 strikeout percentage, and 7.5 walk percentage over 426 innings. Not dominant numbers, but great numbers considering the state of the Royals pitching staff back then. Best of all, his 9.1 R WAR over those 2 seasons was better than all but 16 starting pitchers in baseball, and better than that, he topped every pitcher from his free agent class, making Dayton Moore look pretty smart. He'd tail off in the ensuing 2 years, but Mesh had a very interesting conclusion to his career. He was still with the Royals, but he voluntarily retired from the game, foregoing the final $12 million on his multi-year contract. He was injured and he would have sat out the entirety of the 2012 season while receiving paychecks, and that didn't sit right with him. He was quoted saying, "When I signed my contract, my main goal was to earn it. Once I started to realize I wasn't earning my money, I felt bad. I was making a crazy amount of money for not even pitching, and honestly, I didn't even feel like I deserved it." You may think this act was respectable and of virtue, or you may think that the guy is a total idiot for leaving millions of dollars on the table. He seems content with his decision, and the Royals sure needed every cent that they could get, so it seemed like it worked out for both sides. Okay guys, this video isn't just going to be remembering a bunch of random pitchers on the Royals, but I have a Joakim Soria video if you're looking for more. But let's move on. We're going to go with another American League player, but let's head over to the outfield. Who remembers Desmond Jennings? He's one of the very few players that actually played their entire career with the Tampa Bay Rays. Jennings' first taste of regular big league action came off the bench in 2011. In September of that season, Jennings hit his first career walk-off home run to give the Rays a 5-4 win over the Rangers and give them their 1,000th win in franchise history. His signature moment just came a few weeks later in Game 3 of the 2011 American League Division Series against, you guessed it, the Texas Rangers, where he had his first ever multi-home run game with the series tied at a game apiece. Still, his 2 solo shots weren't enough, and the Rays lost back-to-back 4-3 games and got sent home. When Carl Crawford left in free agency after the season, many looked to Desmond Jennings as the successor to the throne. A speedy contact bat with a sharp glove and a bit of pop at the top of the lineup. These were enormous shoes to fill, as Crawford is arguably the greatest Ray of all time alongside Evan Longoria. The pressure only built from there when BJ Upton was shipped out of town and Jennings became the full-time everyday center fielder in 2012. For 3 seasons in a row, Jennings played in at least 120 games every year, averaging 22 steals a year and playing above average defense. That part of his game translated. But the offensive part of his game never truly came together the way that the Rays had always envisioned. Over the 3-season period, Jennings posted a 102 OPS plus, 37 home runs, and a 9.2 walk percentage over 394 games. These numbers aren't bad by any means, they're numbers of an above league average player, but Jennings never blossomed into the next star outfielder that the Rays desired. He would become injury prone following 2013 and get limited playing time in his final 2 seasons before fizzling out in 2016. Oh, also for my Mets fans out there, he is a Mets legend, fun fact. He never got the chance to play though, even when the Mets were injury riddled in 2017. Alright, last up on today's list is actually probably one that many people haven't forgot about, but he's just a player that I absolutely love and I want to mention him, so I'm gonna do it. The Mariners have always been known for bringing players over from Japan, and one of their more underrated signings was the 3-year deal they gave to Kenji Jjima back in 2005. In Japan, Jjima was a 9-time All-Star, a 7-time Gold Glover, and made the All-NPB team, also known as the Best 9 in Japan, 6 times. Not to mention he was also MVP of the Pacific League in 2003, and he was a part of 2 Japan Series winning teams. The dude had an absolutely stacked resume, so it made sense why he got $16.5 million. Jojima became the first Japanese player to catch full-time in the major leagues, and he and Ichiro Suzuki became the first pair of Japanese position players to take the field in an MLB starting lineup. Jojima had a really successful rookie campaign from a catcher's standpoint. In 542 plate appearances in his rookie year, Kenji clubbed 18 home runs with 76 RBIs, 25 doubles, and a 105 weighted runs created plus, tied for 5th best among all MLB catchers. His efforts landed him 4th in American League Rookie of the Year voting that season, just behind Justin Verlander, Jonathan Papelbon, and Francisco Liriano, which is elite company. Jojima would post similar numbers in his sophomore season as well, remaining one of the more productive AL catchers. Fun fact I found on Reddit about Kenji: he would often check into hotel rooms under the name George Mackenzie because it sounded like Jojima Kenji when spoken in a thick Japanese accent. I don't know if this is true, but it kind of seems like too specific to not be true, and I really wanted to include it, so if somebody can fact check this for me, I'd really appreciate it. Jojima would tail off in his final 2 years in MLB and voided his extension once he began losing playing time. He returned to the NPB and played for several more years, making another All-Star team before retiring in 2012. And yeah, those are my 5 players on today's episode of MLB Players You Forgot About. Let me know if I stumped you in the comments. This was a lot of fun to do because I haven't done one in a while, so who knows, maybe I'll do more, especially if you guys are clamoring for it. But that'll do it for this video. I'm the Jolly Olive, and I'll see you guys next time.